Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Thank you for staying with us. With Nigerian startups steadily crossing that threshold of obscurity into global renown, and now for quite a few ultimately emerging as unicorns, the country's tech revolution can said to be alive and making progress. Well, we're now being joined by Nnedinma Obioha, a tech visionary and entrepreneur, for her assessment of Nigeria's tech sector and how she's working to make an impact in a very competitive environment. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege and an honor to be here at Arise. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Well, let's start with an assessment of the Nigerian tech space. Nigerian startups are obviously increasingly making waves on the global stage, with some achieving a unicorn status. From your perspective, how would you assess the current state of the tech ecosystem in Nigeria? What specific factors do you think are driving its growth? And where do you see the most room for improvement to sustain this momentum?
I would say tech, when you say technology now, it's no more sort of like a word that a lot of people don't even understand, you know. I would say technology is not just a tool anymore. It's now an infrastructure that is embedded into the Nigerian government, our economy, our society, our workplace, and even individuals. Let's really talk about Nigeria. 8-10 years ago, an Okada man probably didn't even know what an ATM card was. But go and enter Keke and tell them that you don't have cash. You'll be amazed that the driver would even bring a POS system for you to pay with your card. That is technology. So I believe that technology has driven even down to the masses, and there's so much that we can do with technology today. Let's really talk about facts. The National Statistics Bureau has said that 18.6% of Nigerian GDP was contributed through technology industry. So you can imagine the vast impact that technology has made even down to our GDP. But let's face reality today. I would say a lot of the infrastructure, the ecosystem in general, the budget that are being placed in technology today are mostly concentrated in Lagos and Abuja. What about the other regions? For instance, the north, the south-south, the southeast. You can imagine the untapped potential that there are in the north, the south-south, and the southeast. And if harnessed, can bring in so much more, not just in this region, but in Nigeria, technology globally. So I believe that there's so much more that we can do in technology. We just really need more funding, more infrastructure in these other regions. And I believe that it should be centralized, not just concentrated in Abuja and in Lagos.
All right. Thanks for setting the tone for the conversation. And I like the fact that you said that there is still a whole lot of untapped potentials in other parts of the country outside of Lagos and Abuja. So my question to you is, what are your expectations beyond saying that more funding is needed in terms of concrete terms, infrastructural support, and of course manpower development? In which area do you think that government, for example, should come in, given that the current minister in charge of your sector is from that sector, Bosun Tijani? And part of what he's been telling Nigerians is that he's the only minister so far, and none like him, that has been consistently engaging with the public and with the people, with the stakeholders in your sector. So what will be your words to the minister, for example, given that he's a practitioner before he became a minister? And then overall, what sort of infrastructural support do you think will be needed for the sort of changes that you will expect in 2025?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Let me talk about my involvement. I introduced myself as a tech entrepreneur. Obviously, in technology, there's so many departments and sectors, but I'll talk about myself. I currently, my company, Centerpoint Multi-Solution and Tech Terminal, we currently have UpTech centers, which is more on training. I give, for instance, our Enugu branch, which has been existing for about 18 years. We have, with the partnership and collaboration we have with Aptech. Aptech is a IT training center, well, with partnership with the Indians, which we established with them about 18, 19 years ago. Our first branch was opened in Enugu. So I would say for a fact, I have seen firsthand hunger to a lot of the people in the Southeast. I'm born and bred in Owerri, so let me start with the Southeast that I know firsthand. There's so much untapped talent. Concentrating on the training sector, our Enugu branch has trained over 18,000 students in the last 18 years. So that is training. For me, it's not just education, it's more about setting a pipeline for skilled individuals that can go out and change the dynamics of the ecosystem in Nigeria. When you train a child from, say, for SS3, you can imagine what they would do when they start to get to their 20s. So going back to your question is a foundation of what I do, which is training. One of the amazing things that we do in our center is an SS3 student without JAMB, NECO, WAEC can come to us, and in 3 years they get a diploma in computer science. Last year we trained over 389 students. 40% of those students have been able to migrate even into the UK, because one of the amazing things that we have with the Aptech people is you can actually get a BSc in computer science. You do 2 years with us, and you can do 1 year abroad, which is we have partnership with Middlesex University, UK. We also have partnership in Dubai and Mauritius. But then going back to your question again, sir, I just wanted to lay a foundation. But apart from the course, the ADSC diploma that we have, we also have courses like Java, .NET, Python, cybersecurity, ethical hacking. Now, these are trainings. So going back to what I would say to the government, if I was speaking to the minister, for instance, today, I would say, well done. I mean, take, for instance, NIDA, with the collaboration of NIDA. I know there's something called 3MTT, which is a new initiative to train about, I think they said 300,000 students. But I would say to the minister, you're forgetting the regions like the North, the South, the East. Southeast, for instance, I know you started with Enugu, but forgetting Umuahia, forgetting Onitsha, forgetting Ebonyi State. I don't think anything has been done in these states. My Aptech centers are currently in Enugu, in Owerri, in Umuahia, in Onitsha, and I'm about to open an Ebonyi State this summer. Notwithstanding the fact that I've gone to the Southeast, we also have centers here in Kubwa, Abuja. We also have introducing Benue State, which is obviously reaching out to the north. So again, I believe that there has to be more concentration or infrastructure in training. I know that some of our governments and our senators and ministers have been able to set up, innovative labs and tech innovative, they call it tech excellence, where people can go and with their laptops have Wi-Fi and, kind of do more research on the ecosystem of what's going on in the technology. But I think it really starts from training. There's so much more that we can do with training. It's so much untapped talents there, especially in the Southeast, where is more of my concentration, but leading not just the Southeast, but also the North and the South-South.
All right. I mean, kudos to you. It's very encouraging to see female tech entrepreneurs like yourself. I mean, it's seldom you see that. A lot of people in the tech space, I would say, especially in Nigeria, it's been really male-dominated. And I'd like to ask you, as a female tech entrepreneur, what sort of barriers have you personally encountered? And now you've been talking about, training and setting a pipeline for skilled individuals. What sort of support have you got? I mean, how do you support this initiative, really? Because you've talked about, starting up in the Southeast and probably going across Nigeria. What sort of support have you had so far? And what kind of support would you want?
I would say sponsorship. One amazing thing about technology is it strives more in collaboration, partnership, scholarships, down from the government to private sectors. NGOs, you know. I mean, I would say today, I challenge some of our philanthropists, train 50 students, and you can imagine where they would be in the next 4 or 5 years. So my support really is, let's try and see if we can actually set up more computer labs, give more fundings, more scholarships, more initiative, more awareness into training. I'll take, for instance, let's talk facts. The North, South, and East population in Nigeria is actually 60% of the total amount of population in Nigeria. So you can imagine this untapped talents that which the infrastructure, which the new funding, the new things that, you know, the government can put in place, the policies mandating, you know, that maybe, and let's even not talk about just the youth. Let's also talk about private institution, training your staffs. For instance, my Enugu branch was able to get the Nigerian Water Board to bring in about 200 of their staffs, as little as Microsoft. And we were able to do some sort of collaboration with the United Nations to sponsor some of these things, you know? So I just believe that with creating more awareness, starting from our government, starting from, you know, private sectors, social corporate responsibility, and seeing how you can do more in terms of training, more than just building a center of excellence.
Okay, so moving beyond that, and I love the fact that you touched on, you know, the challenges that you faced as a woman in tech, but I want to talk about technology as a tool for social good. Beyond profitability, how can tech entrepreneurs drive social impact in Nigeria? Are there examples of technology being used to address systemic issues like poverty, for example, like unemployment, or even the inequality that we continue to fight against in a country like Nigeria that inspires your work?
That's a good one. So I'm a woman, and imagine being in a field dominated by men. One of the interesting things I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years is a lot of women are becoming more aware that they can even do so much more on technology. Let me start with, again, myself. One of the interesting things that we do is not just stopping in training. A lot of the students that finish with us, we also try to onboard them into internship programs. Now, what does this internship program do? They make them more employable. We even go as far as putting them into pet project, live pet project. You know, for instance, we have something currently with the United Nations whereby we're doing a CRM system, a complaint management system with the Nigerian police here in Abuja. I have at least 40 students that I have put on board to help. These are pet jobs, making them more employable. And I would say, being a woman in my company and seeing the amount of women that are actually even coming and taking place in this project. Going back again to how it can help in employment, you find out that a lot of women are even doing things like content creation now on Instagram. In the last 3 years, we've been able to graduate about 45% of women on just UI UX, is called front end, back end, and we have track record testimonies of a lot of these women going out and actually doing web design, creating their own apps. So it's amazing the way the ecosystem as well is also looking towards women. And then when you talk about poverty, when you put in a computer in a community school in Nigeria, talking as far down as putting a computer lab, even if it's just 10 desktops in a small community, it's not going to cost us more than 1 million naira to put in an adequate computer system in a community college. This is giving our students or our youth or our young ones the privilege to be able to go to this computer and know what it is to even go on Google. You can imagine what that would do to a child when the child now goes on to secondary school. The vast exposure the child is given at just that little age. I believe that this is where we can start in Nigeria today.
Very well said. As we begin to wrap up, let me ask quickly what are your thoughts regarding, retention of talent in Nigeria? It's good news out there that the first AI university in Nigeria, and I believe in West Africa, will be sited in Ekpe, in Lagos, in Lagos State. You know, everybody received that news with, you know, with a lot of yes, a lot of gratitude. What are your thoughts on the possibility that will soon happen of an AI university, and what are your thoughts regarding making Nigeria in general an incubator for tech talents to stem the growing spate of, you know, the Japa people having little knowledge, and then, you know, it's off to Canada, it's off to UK, it's off to the US. Well, what are your thoughts about this beautiful development?
I mean, I would say, as a Nigerian that I am, I spent 20 years in the UK, but coming back home, I am amazed with the vast talents that I'm seeing. I'm amazed that, I know Rome wasn't built in a day, but I believe strongly in my country. I believe strongly in Mr. President. Shout out to Mr. President. I thank you so much for the impact that you're creating in the educational system. But I think we still have a long way to go. Let's just start a step at a time, okay? When you talk about AI, and then going back to the previous question, how would you want a child that has never seen computer up until their secondary school level to even understand what AI is? So I think it's also still going back to the future leaders. Again, let's start as little as we can, as small as we can, step by step. And I believe Nigeria would be one of the leading nations in Africa in tech. We have the manpower, we have the labor, but I will go back to what the Bible says as a Christian. The Genesis is where we need to start from.
All right, then. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and on this conversation about breaking barriers to Nigeria's tech revolution. Do have a fantastic day.
Thank you.